The following program is sponsored by Your Credit Matters.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Your Credit Matters. I'm your host, Rondy Lambeth, bringing to you each and every day what I think the banks, the credit bureaus, the collection companies, what they don't want you to know about your credit, your finances in the real estate market, and how important that three-digit number that we all know of now is the credit score. You know, I'm a certified FICO credit professional, been in the industry for years, and I've helped thousands of people that have gone through bankruptcies, foreclosures, tax liens, short sales, judgments, gone through it all. In fact, I've gone through it myself. A couple bankruptcies in my name, foreclosures, repossessions, judgments, collections, you name it, I've had it on my credit report. And I am here today to tell you I have a 760 credit score. 760 credit score out of bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is still on my credit report. And I'm here. I'm surviving. I'm actually thriving right now, doing well because I'm helping people like you understand what the banks don't want you to know about your credit. For years, I thought that if you filed bankruptcy, you would have bad credit. And for years, I thought that you had to max out your credit cards and then pay them off every month. That way you'll get more credit, because that's what I was taught as a kid. I remember my teachers teaching me in that school, and there's not really a formal education about credit. So there's no way that you can learn this on your own. Rather, the only way you can learn this is on your own. You can't sign up for a class in college and they're going to teach you about credit. Now they should. They really should, but unfortunately they do not. They do not, because the banks don't want you to know that. The government doesn't want you to know about your credit score. Let's talk a little bit about credit cards and how important a credit card is, because I was taught that you get your credit card, you max it out, you pay it off, max it out, pay it off. And as long as you continue doing that cycle, eventually the credit card company will see that, and the credit card company will give you a higher credit limit. The fact of the matter is, that's the worst possible thing you can do. Absolute worst possible thing. And it's because when you max out that credit card and you pay it off, the credit bureaus don't know it was paid off until 30 days after they reported it was maxed out. So every time you max it out, it's showing you're using 100% of your available credit. That's high risk. Extremely high risk for the credit card company. So FICO, the Fair Isaac company, the people that created the credit score, will lower your credit score because you're high risk to the bank. And that's all a credit score is it shows the risk that a bank is willing to take, or the risk a bank will take if they extend credit to you. So when you max out that credit card, the risk goes up. So your credit score goes down. And anytime a risk for a bank goes up, your scores are always going to go down. So how do you do it then properly? I'll get over that. I'll get into that here in a few minutes. But back to maxing it out, another reason that the banks will not just issue you more credit, because you're maxing them out, it's risk. Whereas if you just use a little bit at a time, you got to use a little bit, 20, 30%. So if you got $1,000 limit, never go over $100 to $300. $300 max in a month. If you can keep it around 10%, that's ideal. And what will happen is the banks will see that, and they're going to want to lure you into using the card more. So they will almost automatically every 6 months increase your credit limit as long as you're not maxing it out. See, it's the opposite of what people think. It's the opposite of probably what you've been taught. So maxing it out not only affects your credit score negatively, but it also impacts the bank's decisions on whether or not they're going to up your credit. So do yourself a favor. If you have credit cards, don't max them out. Get them down to 10%, and they're automatically going to start giving you more credit. They want to tempt you in using it more. And another reason they do that is because when you get down to that 10% range, your scores are going to drastically increase, which means when the credit cards pull your credit, and they pull your credit every single month. It's called the soft inquiry. Every month they're going to pull your credit. Now, this does not impact your credit score. So they do the soft inquiry. They're going to see that now you have a 740 versus last month you had a 640 because you were using the credit cards wrong. They're going to see that you have a 740. They're going to offer you something better than what you already have. Go ahead and take that offer. You want to continue to get as many credit increases as possible. The more you get, the better it will be, because that means you can actually start using the card more often. And you can use it to pay for more things, which allows you to get more rewards points and more mileage. So don't just let the card sit at zero, because if you let it sit at zero, the banks are going to think that you're not using it and that you don't know about it. That's almost as high of a risk to the bank as someone who maxes out the credit cards. So never let your cards sit at a zero balance. You always have to have something on there. Now, I am not saying to not pay off the credit card every month. It is imperative. You have to pay off the credit card each and every month. What I'm saying is you pay the credit card in full every month and then use it the following month. So that way, the following month, when it reports, it shows the balance due. Because when the bureaus or when the credit card companies report, they're always 30 to 60 days behind. So if you go 30 to 60 days without using that card, they're going to report you have a zero balance due, which is going to hurt your credit score. And it's going to hurt your chances of getting a higher credit limit. And I recommend that you get that credit limit as high as possible. $50, $60, $75, $100,000 is ideal, because then what you can actually do, you can go down and you can purchase things like cars. I have friends that buy houses on their credit cards. And the reason they buy the houses is because they'll get a year at zero interest. Now think about that. If you go down and you buy a brand new car at 0% interest for a year, you can rotate it through credit cards and never pay interest on that. Now, sometimes you can get a loan through the mortgage. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You can get a car loan. Yes, you can get a car loan at 0% interest, but they're going to put that at a maximum of 4 or 5 years. So your payment's going to be much higher. Whereas if you do it through a credit card, that's amortized over 20 to 30 years. So you're going to have hardly any payment at all, which means 100% of what you pay extra is going towards the principal, and it pays it down very, very quickly. And you just rotate it around, and you get points on top of it. So if you buy a $50,000 car with a credit card and you use a card like me, my Capital One card, I'd get 100,000 points. That represents $1,000 in cash that they'd give to me. So now instead of me paying $50,000 for the car, it really only cost me $49,000. So you're using the bank's money against them. And that's why you don't see this in traditional education. This is why you don't go to college and they teach you how to basically use money, use credit to make money. They don't want you to know this because the banks don't want you to know this. And so a lot of these colleges are funded by banks. A lot of the college get extra money from banks. And so they can really regulate what we're taught. You know, the way I learned how to do this was I actually bought a law library. I spent almost $2,000 on law books. And for 4 years, everywhere I went, I had one of the law books with me. And if I had an appointment and I sat in traffic, I had the law book right there next to me. And I was always, for 4 years, I read nothing but law books. And I started learning a lot about what the banks don't want you to know. And these are some of it. So right now we're going to go to break. And when I come back, I'm going to teach you about how inquiries actually impact the credit score and how you don't want to be going out and applying for a bunch of credit cards. And if you do, there's a certain time of the year you want to do it. So I'm your host, Ron D. Lambeth, FICO Credit Professional. My number, 888-900-3678. That's 888-900-3678. Or simply go to the website if you need to contact me there. badcreditisAchoice.com. Again, that's badcreditisAchoice.com. You're listening to Your Credit Matters, heard Monday through Friday at 6:30 p.m. right here on K-Praise. Be right back.
Are you struck with fear every time the phone rings? Harassing calls from collection agencies and credit card companies? Your balance is skyrocketing and you're barely paying the minimums each month. Maybe you bought your home at the top of the market and lost your job last year. You've always had good credit. But now, Doan Law Firm understands, and they'll walk you through your valley. Did you know you can get those harassing phone calls stopped immediately and get medical bills, credit cards, and unsecured debt completely eliminated? Doan has over 30,000 satisfied clients and operates on traditional Judeo-Christian values. Call 619-333-0111. If you're upside down with a second mortgage, Doan may be able to have your second eliminated. Call 619-333-0111. That's 619-333-0111. 619-333-0111. Or online at creditroadmap.com. Sleep peacefully tonight in your own home with the Doan difference. Doan Law Firm is a federally designated debt relief agency.
Hi, this is Rondi, certified FICO credit professional. Did you know that 100%, you heard me, 100% of all credit reports are inaccurate? And based on those inaccuracies, the banks and the credit bureaus can make billions of dollars off of you, the American people. See, the more mistakes on a credit report, the more they can make. Do you think it's fair that while the banks are getting richer, you're getting poorer? While the banks are flying around in their fancy jets, you're barely scraping by. If you'd like to put a stop to what I call theft, give me a call. My number is 619-333-0111. Or you can go to the website, creditroadmap.com, and sign up to be on my newsletter and sign up for my free book on how you can fix your own credit. You'll be glad you did.
This is Your Credit Matters with Rondi Lambeth on K-Praise 1210 AM KPRZ. Did you know that according to the FTC that nearly 50% of all identity theft complaints are direct results of the credit bureaus making mistakes? The credit bureaus make billions of dollars each and every year by making mistakes on credit reports. They're rewarded by the big banks to keep your credit score down. The lower they keep your score, the more money they make and the more you pay. If you want to learn how to put a stop to this theft and increase your credit score, visit AskRondi.com. Again, that's AskRondi.com, AskRondi.com. Or simply call and speak to a credit expert at 888-900-3678. That's 888-900-3678. Tell a friend to listen to Your Credit Matters with Rondi Lambeth. Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on K-Praise 1210 a.m. KPRZ. To reach Rondi, call 888-900-3678 or online at AskRondi.com.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Your Credit Matters. I'm your host, Rondi Lambeth, FICO credit professional, author, and speaker, and your local credit expert, bringing to you each and every day with the banks, credit bureaus, collection companies, what I think they don't want you to know about your credit, what I think they don't want you to know about the real estate market, about the finances, about how much money they're making off these foreclosures and short sales and loan modifications. They are raking it in, billions and billions of dollars from foreclosures. Why is that? How can they legitimately make all of this money if these homes are going into foreclosure and they have to sell them at quite all these losses? Well, here's the facts. They're all insured. They're all insured, well, not all. The majority of them are insured by the U.S. government, or basically us. We're going to pay for it probably the rest of our lives. Our kids will pay for it and our grandchildren will pay for it, so the bankers can get richer and richer. The other way they're making money is they sold all this debt off to the Chinese, to the English, to the Germans. They sold it in stocks. Why do you think they're getting sued? You know, Bank of America, so far this year, actually so far in 2011, has paid out $13 billion. That's with a B. $13 billion in lawsuits so far. And yet they still, for the record, had record-breaking profits, $130 billion in profit. Doesn't seem right, does it? It's because the way the system is set up. They don't want you to know this because this is how they're making money. Now, before the break, I promised to tell you about inquiries and how inquiries impact your credit score. You know, a lot of this stuff I get is right from public studies, right from case law. You know, for example, the U.S. Public Interest Research Group did a study and they found that almost 80% of the credit reports they looked at were wrong. And 25% of those credit reports had bad enough issues serious enough to keep them from getting a job, keep them from being able to purchase a home, a car, keep them from being able to get a credit card that has rewards, keep them actually from sending their children to college. Because of these mistakes, 25%. So look around. If you're driving home right now, look around. 25% of the people in your car at that intersection, on the freeway, wherever you're at, 25% of these people have mistakes that are serious enough to keep them from living a life they've wanted to live. And why is that? Because the banks and the credit bureaus make billions of dollars each and every year off of these mistakes. See, they're rewarded for the mistakes. The more mistakes they make, the more they make. For example, with inquiries. See, when you go to a car dealership and you apply for a loan, most likely that dealership will pull your credit 10 to 20 times. Now, yes, the dealerships have to pay for that, and they're willing to pay for it. See, and the credit bureaus want those pulls. See, if I go into a dealership, or if you have good credit, and you go into a dealership, or better yet, you pay for cash for your credit card, your car purchase, or you get a loan at your credit union. But when we go in, we're going to apply for that loan one time, which means the credit bureaus only make one purchase. So they only make money off of one credit pull. So when that dealership pulls that credit one time, the credit bureaus get one amount. And it varies. They get anywhere from $5 to $15 per pull. Whereas if you had bad credit or less than perfect credit because of these mistakes, and because of these mistakes, the car dealership pulls your credit 10, 15, 20 times, as opposed to someone like me that doesn't have mistakes. They pull it once. Well, the difference is about $300. $300 to the bottom line of the credit bureau. Because if they get $15 per pull times 20, that's $300. Versus my one pull, they only get $15 off of me. See how that works? They're the ones that store the data, so therefore they get paid. Who else gets paid on it? Well, FICO gets paid on it because FICO is the company that provided the score. So FICO also wants you to have poor credit. At least that's my opinion. You know, this is the fact. The more times your credit's pulled, the more money they make. Now, add insult to injury. If you have 20 inquiries on your credit, your scores are going to guaranteed will go down. I don't care what you've read, what you saw online, what your mortgage broker, what your real estate agents told you, that if you pull it all in the same month, it counts as one. That's garbage. It's garbage because that's only in FICO Model 8, and no one's using FICO Model 8 except for FICO. The rest of them are using FICO Model 2, 4, and 5. The difference is 2 was developed in 1995. FICO Model 8 was developed recently. It's like comparing Windows 95 to Windows 7. No comparison whatsoever, except for it's the same company that created the operating system. So yes, there is truth to if you have all the inquiries in the same 30-day window, it counts as one if you're on FICO Model 8, which no one's using it. Okay. So earlier I said I would tell you when you want to do it. Well, to be honest, if you're going to purchase something, you want to do all of your purchases all at once. So that way, if you're going to get a house and you're going to get a car and you're going to get furniture and you're going to get credit cards, you do it all in the same month, all at once. Because when you first pull, it's going to put it aside and it's not going to technically start impacting the credit score for 30 days. But after that 30-day window went by, then your scores will drop and they'll stay down for another 9 to 10 months until the inquiries drop off. Now, inquiries will stay on your your credit report for 2 years, but will only impact the credit score 12 months. So they will be on there for 2 years, but they only impact you for 12. Now, you can get inquiries removed. We get them removed every day. So if you've recently gone through and purchased a car and you know they pulled your credit 20 times, give me a call. I'll teach you how. I'll just tell you right over the phone how to get the inquiries removed. If you don't want to do it yourself, I'll do it for you. My number is 888-900-3678. That's 888-900-3678. Or simply go to the website, badcreditisAchoice.com. Again, that's badcreditisAchoice.com. Now, people ask me all the time, how many points does inquiry actually impact my credit score? Well, the answer is, it depends. It depends on how thick your credit file is. It depends on how many inquiries you've had in the past. It depends on when was the last time you did the inquiry and what kind of inquiry it is. So it all depends. But I can tell you this, it will not have more than a 55-point impact on your credit score. 55 points maximum. That's it. No matter how big your file is, no matter how small your file is. 55 points total. How did I come up with that number? Well, FICO tells us that 10% of your credit score is based on inquiries or new credit. 10%. Now, I know what you're thinking. You could have an 850 credit score, and yes, that is true. Credit scores, FICO credit scores are 300 to 850. That's 300 to 850. But they start at 300, they end at 850. So in order to find out how many points available, you must subtract out the lower number. So subtract from 850, you're going to subtract 300. So 850 minus 300 would leave you with 550 points. That's how many points you really have on anybody's credit score, 550 points. So if you do it, 550 multiplied by 10%, because 10% of your credit score is based on new credit or inquiries, that's 55 points. So no matter how old you are, no matter how thick your file is, your inquiries maximum impact on the credit score for inquiries is 55 points. Now here's what FICO does, is they bunch them in sets of 4. So if you have 4 inquiries, it's essentially 1 inquiry. Now when you hit the 5th inquiry, you're most likely going to see your scores drop again. Now 6 through 7 or 6 through 8 are not going to impact the score much, but the 9th inquiry, you're going to see another drop because they're doing in stacks of 4. So 10% of your credit score is based on new credit or inquiries. 35% is based on payment history. So if you want to clean up that credit quickly, make sure you get those credit card balances paid down. Only apply for credit once a year if you can. Make sure the dealerships never pull your credit more than once. Get it in writing that they're only going to pull it once, and you authorize them for 1 pull. Because here's what happens. If they pull your credit more than once and you get it in writing, you only authorize 1, in the state of California, it's a $2,500 fine per pull. So if they pull it 10 times and you authorized it once and you get it in writing for once, they pulled it 10, that's 9 times $2,500. That's state law. It's called an inquiry without permissible purpose because you gave them permission for 1. Now, you can't come back and do it later because they're going to say that, let me break that down. If you've had 10 inquiries and you didn't know it from last year and you want to sue them now, you can't really sue them now because you might have gave them permission or at least they had consent. But if you get it in writing and you very clear, you say you get 1 time, that's it, then they cannot argue that they had permission. And it's a way to control what they're doing to your credit. You don't want to just go out there and let them do whatever that you want. It's like giving your teenager your credit card and saying, son, go have a great time because he's going to go have a great time. You don't want to give the dealerships full control over your credit. So, moral of the stories today, keep your credit card balances low, increase your credit limits as much as possible, call and ask for an increase every 6 months, and only do inquiries once a year if you can help it. So I'm your host, Ronnie Lambeth, and you're listening to Your Credit Matters, bringing to you each and every day what I think the banks and the credit bureaus and the collection companies, the mainstream media, our own U.S. government, what they don't want you to know about your credit score and how important that 3-digit number is to your life. If you need some help, if you want to reach out to me, if you have questions, feel free to give me a call, 888-900-3678. That's 888-900-3678, or simply go to the website, badcreditisAchoice.com. Again, that's badcreditisAchoice.com. As always, I'm your host, Rondy Lambeth, bringing you the truth, and it's a truth that's going to set you free. Hi, this is Rondy, certified FICO credit professional. Did you know that 100%, you heard me, 100% of all credit reports are inaccurate? And based on those inaccuracies, the banks and the credit bureaus can make billions of dollars off of you, the American people. See, the more mistakes on a credit report, the more they can make. Do you think it's fair that while the banks are getting richer, you're getting poorer? While the banks are flying around in their fancy jets, you're barely scraping by. If you'd like to put a stop to what I call theft, give me a call. My number is 619-333-0111. Or you can go to the website, creditroadmap.com, and sign up to be on my newsletter and sign up for my free book on how you can fix your own credit. You'll be glad you did.
The preceding program was sponsored by Your Credit Matters.